All right. Welcome back to the Cosmic Mistress podcast. I'm Amanda, and today we have Tanin Matin on the podcast for a conversation that we're just going to flow with around energetics, embodiment, intuition, and creation. So, Tanin, I'd love for you to share a little bit about who you are, how you're showing up in the world, and just a little bit of your energy so people can
get a little
experience
flavor.
You. Yeah.
Yeah. Who am I? Such an interesting question. I would say, like, the way I would describe myself in the work that I do is I'm naturally a very multidimensional being, and I have been ever since I was a very young child. And so much of the work that I do now as a spiritual teacher, as an energetic master, I teach people. I have a certification for people to master energetics, master spiritual healing work. And I would say for me, like, the thing I'm most passionate about and the thing that really makes me me is that I experience the world through the lens of an expanded awareness. And I have ever since I was a child. And I feel like a lot of us, when we were children, experienced life through this like expanded awareness that was interconnected with the field, you know.
I have chills right now.
Yeah. and then life conditions us into our mental field, into our thoughts. And so much of the work that I do is helping to expand people back into that level of expanded awareness and interconnectedness with this field of energy that we're all connected to, and really learning how to decipher what it's communicating with us, how it's trying to guide us, and live from that place, which I know is a lot of what this podcast is about, is inspiring people to create and manifest their lives. And I found that living from this deeply intuitive place has guided me to uncover the truth of who I am. You know, it's like, I feel like we all go on this hero's journey when we go on this spiritual awakening journey, and we're really discovering who we are at our core essence. Yeah. And I'm continuing to unravel that journey, but being able to be very interconnected with this field of intelligence and what it's communicating to me and how it's guiding me is so much of the work that I do and how I serve people too.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And as I'm such a visual, energetic person too, so as you're speaking, and it depends too, like who I'm connecting with, like what that's like for me, but as you're speaking, I can see all of what you're saying, and I can see all the colors, and I can see the relationship you have to the energy that you're speaking to. And so I'm curious too what your relationship to your own intuition is like, and kind of your journey back into it, back into that remembering and back into that dynamic. Because I feel like there's a lot of us that have so much of that when we're kids. We have that wisdom, like we're imprinted with it. We have that within us. And then we spend, the next little bit reconnecting to that and remembering that. So I'm curious what that's been like for you.
Yeah. My journey of connecting to my intuition really started when I disconnected from it. When I had a really traumatic experience in college from a sexual assault kind of experience, and it completely dissociated me from my body. And so I felt very numb within my body. My nervous system was frozen and shut down. And I completely disconnected from that intuitive knowing and felt sense. And it was really scary for me because life kind of like always worked out for me. I had a very traumatic childhood, but even amongst all the trauma and all the chaos, I was so connected to this field, whether you call it spirit, God, I was so connected to that. And so I felt this guidance and protection amongst all the chaos. And so in college, when this experience happened and I felt so disconnected from myself, my body, I went through about a 7-year cycle where I lived life very disconnected from myself and very disconnected to my intuition. And that whole journey, I just kept like going back to like when I was in like elementary school and middle school and high school. And I'm like, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so there was this like deep curiosity of like, what happened? My life, I would think things and they would just happen. And this is like before social media was a thing. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I didn't know the word manifestation existed, let alone like any of this world. I grew up on the East Coast, very cookie cutter, like, you go to college, you get a job and like desk job, that whole thing. So I had no idea this world,
Mm-hmm.
but I was living it and I was embodying it. And so, yeah, I would say the journey of reconnecting back to my intuition actually happened through a lot of trauma healing and
Mm-hmm.
through a lot of understanding my nervous system and understanding that really the electrical current, the pulse of life comes through our nervous system and our bodies.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like when our nervous systems are so dysregulated because we had a traumatic experience or life is just like overwhelming these days. Like
Yeah, it's a
being a
lot.
human's hard.
It's a lot. Yeah.
And so it's like our nervous systems are just taking in so much that, I had to learn how to come back to that quintessential essence that I remember as a child that was like so pure. And I just knew like, oh, I can actually just rest and focus on this and it's just going to create itself. And it would
Mm.
happen. Like
Yeah.
even how I got into college, I'm like, I did not get that good of grades. I'm like, I don't know how all those things happened the way that they did. I went into a pretty good school and yeah, I would say the journey of me coming back to that was the hero's journey that I needed to go on to actually become who I was meant to be in the world as a trauma
Totally.
healer, as a spiritual teacher. It was the perfect curriculum
Mm-hmm.
for me to learn everything I needed to learn to become who I'm here to be. And I think that really applies to,
Most people.
yeah.
Yeah. I love that too, because also what you're speaking to is like the experience of contrast.
Totally.
And it's so powerful to come into knowing more of yourself, connecting to your intuition, having an experience where you fully are embodying more of who you actually are.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, like the powerful way into that is by going backwards a little bit and experiencing the contrast of it and experiencing, all the things that caused us pain or have hurt us or all of the lies we've been told our entire life, going into those and those parts of ourselves and really remembering that that's not it. Like that's not all of us. There's so much more that we get to experience. And I love the expanded awareness that we can come to through really looking at what it is that we've experienced, painful or not, and the beauty of it. Because then too, it takes away the pressure of needing to be perfect in order to be a powerful creator.
Totally.
If you're not in like a good mood or if you're currently having a hard time, like creating, like you're not able to create, which just isn't true.
Yeah.
It's really that remembering that we're always creating and remembering how powerful we are, no matter what's happened.
100%. And through my journey, I have this like embodied knowing that there's such an intelligence to all of life. So it's like, even if you're stuck, even if you're in a place where your energy is low, like there's an intelligence to that. And something that's been interesting in the work that I do with my clients and with my students is like, we've done the mindset work and we realize that can only go so far. And then people get into somatics and they realize that can even only go so deep. And sometimes we're in these like depressive or anxious or just like disconnected states because there's energy that's bound in the field of consciousness, and sometimes it's from a past life. And people who are like on this spiritual journey that like kind of like have this remembrance there, it's like, I get this, but I'm like learning it again, and they're
Totally.
right. And so you've lived lives before this, and you're remembering the things that you've cultivated over time, right? And so what I find is like a lot of people are doing so much work or like healing, and they're trying to figure out like, well, what happened to me? But they're only looking at the context of this lifetime. And some of the work that I've done, I mean, people have been stuck in certain cycles for years of their life, and then when we go into their field and we open up and we really touch the core of that energy, we realize where it lives on in their soul level of their field. And when we unbind it, their energy shifts, like what they start attracting in their life shifts. And it's so interesting. Every time I do this work, like I even had a recent person that I was working with who had like lung issues for months. And he's like, I don't know why, I just know that I need to work with you. And like, and it was a past life energy that we cleared. And literally the next day, his lungs started to clear up.
So wild.
It's
That's
so
amazing.
wild. Yeah.
I love that. And one of the things too that I can't remember who said this to me, but it's just like there's wisdom in the energy of what you're experiencing. So when you're dysregulated, when you're not in like, because there's so much education and so much emphasis on constantly being regulated now in the somatic world and getting to a regulated state because that's what's best. But there's so much wisdom in the dysregulation, and there's so many messages that we miss out if we try to fix it and if we try to get ourselves into a different state. So I'm curious too, the interplay of nervous system and intuition, what you've noticed in yourself or what you've noticed even within clients, as far as building capacity within nervous system for dysregulation, as well as capacity for intuition. Like, is there an interplay there? What have you noticed with those two things in the relationship between the two?
Such a good question. What I would say is like part of strengthening my intuition, I'll speak for myself, is having some maps, right? Like understanding, polyvagal theory, for example, just in like a more simple, like understanding when the nervous system is getting into a dysregulated state. Then I can start to, okay, I'm aware that I'm dysregulated. I'm aware, and even like the emotional mastery, like I'm aware I'm dysregulated and I'm feeling grief or I'm feeling anger. And that's what I'm experiencing in this moment. The more like maps that we have, like I use David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, for example, with like the emotional mastery piece to just understand like, okay, there's a level of dysregulation that I'm having, and there's a certain emotion that's arising with that, and then I'll sit with the emotion, and I don't try to intuit anything when I'm in a dysregulated state. Right? I'm just more so taking the seat of the witness of what's happening in my experience and processing the emotion and not making it wrong, like, and trusting that when there's an emotion present, whether it is mine, whether I'm feeling something that I was with someone earlier today, there's a lot of empaths out there that are feeling things from the people around them, or even like collectively. I mean, there's a lot of really intense things happening in the world. I'm Iranian, and so like I was born in Iran. I'm feeling a lot of what's happening on the land, like the grief, the anger that's moving through my body. And so when there's an emotion and intensity present, I'm not sitting there trying to like figure it out, right? Because then you're in your mental field. I'm really dropping into the deepest level of presence, and then I'm just becoming aware. I'm like aware of what's happening, and I'm creating safety within myself that like this emotion is welcome. And my journey over time in creating safety, like I can move a lot of intense emotion and energy, and every time I do that, I'm expanding my nervous system's capacity to be with a lot of energy, whether that's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of joy or whether that's a lot of pain. I can alchemize a lot through my nervous system because I've created time and time again a relationship with my body and my nervous system that it's safe to be experiencing exactly what I'm experiencing, and I can let it roll through. And I will say, like, one of the most incredible tools that I learned through Luminous Awareness Institute, actually, it's this thing called minis. And I love it. I teach all of my students this, and it's like, you know, when you're so dysregulated that it's like you can't even think straight, it's like
Yeah.
so
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
So like we would reach out to a group chat. So like I have a group chat with like a group of girlfriends now where it's like I'll reach out when I'm like really like I'm just so overwhelmed and dysregulated. Like I just need someone to hold space
Mm-hmm.
and be present with me
Mm-hmm.
while I alchemize this emotion. Because
Right.
sometimes it feels too much for me to do it on my own, and I just need to feel connection
Mm-hmm.
with someone to process that. And the more that I've done that in connection, the more that I have more capacity to be with
Mm.
more intensity, like no matter what that is, whether the
Right.
intensity is like I'm manifesting a lot in my business and so I'm holding a lot of pieces, right? Being
Mm-hmm.
a mom and having a podcast and doing all of these things, it's a lot of energy that you're like moving through your system on a regular basis. So I would say like the relationship between nervous system and intuition is like, how can I develop tools and practices for me to become masterful of processing when I'm in a dysregulated state so I can come back into presence?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's from that state of presence that you know your intuition.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So one thing too I want to circle back to is the power of connection and the power of intimacy and
Yeah.
having loving presence and how much safety that creates for us to be with more
Yeah.
and to experience more and to build our capacity, and how necessary that is and how needed that is.
Yeah.
And you know, there's so much that we can do on our own, especially when you've been in the work for a while and you've built such a strong system. But we still need that connection to sustain and hold more, because that's the goal, right? If we're going to continue to grow, if we're going to continue to expand, if we're going to continue to bring this energy to the world, we still need to be held.
Totally. And having someone that has that stable nervous system so you can go full into the dysregulation, full into whatever it is, and someone's kind of like holding that field for you so
Mm-hmm.
you can fully go into your process. And something that's really prevalent, I would say in America in particular, is like we've created this like self-reliant,
Hyper
hyper-independent,
self-lovey, self-healing.
yeah, and like we've forgotten like that we're a tribal species.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people have this subtle, you know, whether it's depression or like they don't feel fully fulfilled in life, but they've like achieved all the things, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they've become super self-reliant and self-sufficient, and they can do it all on their own
Mm-hmm.
because like we've been taught to like do it all on our own. But I think that there's this deeper layer of like when you operate from that place of like doing it all on your own, you're so self-reliant, in a way you're disconnected from
Mm-hmm.
life
Yeah.
itself. You're like so in your own
There's
island, in
like a
your
little
own
bit of a
world.
closure as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't really feel the full aliveness
Mm-hmm.
of the magic of life because oftentimes you've figured out how to do it on your own and you're not fully living in your body and your heart. So
Yeah, I love
yeah.
that. It's so important.
Mm-hmm.
The other piece too that I was hearing with the intuition piece is the importance of presence
Mm-hmm.
and cultivating safety to be with whatever is coming up in the system, and to
Mm-hmm.
have that loving awareness and have that presence and not attached to it, observe it in the emotional body,
Mm-hmm.
and then come back to the intuition. Because oftentimes what I've seen too in different spaces that I've worked with people and connected with people is when you are solely, I've seen a lot of somatic work and I've seen a lot of spiritual work. And I think the blend of the two, when they come together, is really magical because you can play in the world of intuition and creation from a place of truth rather than projection. And I think oftentimes when we are not super connected to our emotional bodies or our nervous system, we have the tendency to believe something is coming from our intuition, but it's really coming from fear, or it's really coming from an emotion that we're experiencing. But because we haven't built that connection and deep awareness of our own system, we project it as our intuition. And so I'm curious too, what's been your experience as far as like working with people and allowing people to either connect those two dots or just kind of anything you have to share on any of that, because I think both are super important, and I think we're finally in a stage where those are coming together more, and that's really where the power lies.
Yeah. I'm like such a visual person as well, and I love maps. Like I love like a visual map, right? So
I love that too, because you're structuring it out for me as you're saying all of this.
Yeah, because I almost worked on Wall
What's the
Street. I'm a
path?
very like analytical, structured, logical. Like that's like when I started my spiritual journey, that's like the lens and the view that I came from. So, what I would share is like there's different levels of mind. And this is something that I teach where it's like when we're in the logical mind, we're very bound by our thoughts. So it's like we're thinking, we're in the thinker, we're very like entangled in a way with our emotions. Like there's not the witness, which I would say is like the next level of mind is the aware mind. So there's the logical mind where you're kind of like there's no separation between you, your thoughts, and your emotions. You're like, I am angry, I am these things.
Very identified.
Identified, exactly. That's the word I was looking for. You're identified with your thoughts and you're identified with your emotions. And then there's, the seat of the witness, the aware mind, when you can be aware, like, okay, I'm experiencing anger right now. And like, this is what I'm experiencing in life. And I can kind of observe myself. And then there's what I call the intuitive mind, where you're operating from the seat of your awareness. So there's no thinking, you're beyond thought, you're beyond the emotion. And this is where like, people are experiencing a channeled state. It's coming from an energy that's moving through you that is beyond you. And it takes a level of practice and cultivation to rest there. But I think that map is really helpful for people because they can start to observe like, okay, I'm in my logical mind right now thinking that this is my intuition, but really this is my ego, right? It's like masking itself. And so just having that map of like, I'm not even like witnessing myself. I'm so identified in like in the story that I've created.
Totally.
And so that can just help discern where you're coming from and the intuition from my sense and the way that I experience it comes from awareness itself.
I love that. And it's almost like the further in you go versus like pulling out. Like how pulled out of your experience while witnessing it can you be? Because how much can you open to allow whatever wants to come through, rather than being so identified with the body and with the mind, which is all important to be aware of, but once again, to be aware of.
Right.
Yeah.
And like what you said, even like when you're in the logical mind, you feel contracted, right? You like your body literally feels like, and then as you become aware, there's more spaciousness. And then as you expand out, and when I was describing what I was doing at first, I'm like, I help people rest and operate from their awareness.
Yes.
So that they live from their intuitive mind.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I would imagine too the importance of starting the journey inward too when people haven't, and then slowly bringing them out.
I do.
Do you do?
I'm like, I just bring you out there. Well, I think that there's like a level of, there's like a meditation that I have that starts people in their physical body, and then they start tracking, okay, here's my physical body, here's my subtle energy. So I can start to feel my breath. I can start to feel the subtle energy around me in the room. And then you expand them out to like feel the whole room. Joe Dispenza does the like, he kind of is like expand out and,
Yeah.
So I actually think
Be
it's
the space
surrounding
surrounding your body.
Totally. He's doing the thing. He's
Yeah,
bringing you
yeah.
out there, and
Regardless of how his voice sounds, it works.
I love his voice is hilarious. It gets me every time.
It took me so long to get used to it, and now I can rock it.
But. Yeah, mine's a little softer, But yeah, like I think that there's an important, like it's a foundational practice where it's like, instead of just starting here, it's like, no, we start with you actually being able to feel the difference between here expanding out and then like experiencing the witness and feeling the consciousness that's holding the witness. Because when you practice that from the very beginning, you're starting to stabilize. Like, I remember when I first started learning this about like 6 years ago, I would walk every day, and in my school they call it awake awareness, right? So I would walk every day for 45 minutes in awake awareness just so I could start to stabilize myself there. And it's like a foundational practice to start to like live and operate from that place instead of like constantly being like caught in the mental field, in the logical mind, in this like bound consciousness.
Totally.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Carolyn Myss at all? So her description too of like the 3 levels of intuition I really love. And there's like the survival, the intuitive, and then the visionary. And it's really the journey of like fear or instinctual to coming more into heart, to coming more into like energy out, just like you're describing. And yeah, it's just really interesting too. And it's a simple question too of asking yourself, like, what part of my awareness right now am I in?
Right.
Where am I operating from right now?
Totally.
So another thing I'd love to talk about too is this idea of like gifts and how your own journey of becoming more of who you are, oftentimes that's us really coming into contact with our gifts. And those can change and expand too. But I think becoming more of who you are and building this type of awareness and really living from intuition can unlock so many gifts that we have to offer the world, no matter what that is. So I'm curious what the journey has kind of unlocked for you and how maybe that's shifted the way you show up in different parts of your life, like whether that's, relationship, business, like how coming more into your gifts has, just shifted how you show up and what it is that you've been able to offer the world through that.
Well, there's so many things that are going to be offered this year that are kind of like a new rebirth. We just went through the year of the snake, so massive shedding and also massive awakening. And yeah, I would say as I've stepped more into my gifts, I realize how powerful my ability to transmit is. I've led workshops here in Boulder where people are accessing levels of awareness and tracking skills that have taken me 2+ years to learn in 90 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, this is so deeply needed. And people, so I would say like for me, there's such a shift in stepping into more of like a teacher role. And I've had a certification for the last 5 years, and I have put that to rest this year. And it was really challenging because it's my baby.
Totally.
And it's called the Energetic Revolution. And I'm recontextualizing a lot of those teachings. It was a trauma-informed spiritual healer certification program. And what I'm realizing is like understanding the trauma is really important, but it's not the focus. Like as I've evolved, so much of my work was like trauma healing, and that's still an element of what's happening, right? But it's not the focus anymore.
Right.
It's not the focus of my life anymore. Now it's more like the energetic mastery, right? And like as my gifts have evolved, that's what people are really yearning for in community. There's so many gifted energy healers, and a lot of people come to me and they're like, yeah, I've done Reiki before. Is that what you do? And I'm like, not quite. It's an awareness-based healing where you open yourself up as a channel, and you learn how to track like every level of the field. Like people here like know what a chakra is, right?
Yeah.
So it's like every level of your field has a certain energy, and to actually be able to track that with your awareness and what's happening in those different levels of the field, and then knowing exactly how to work every level in a unique way. It's cool because it's like the framework is being downloaded through me through direct experience. And as I've created this over the last 5 years within my certification, it's like, I want to train the most badass energy healers on the planet and like support this mastery and precision in tracking. One of the things that I've realized is in the realm of spiritual healing, there's mistrust in a lot of people, right? It's like they've gone to spiritual healers and they're like, yeah, she told me that my past life was this and all of these things happened. And it was so funny. My friend the other day was like, yeah, it's like mental masturbation. It's like we're just talking about like the things that happened, but was that true? Like I don't even know, And it's so real,
Yeah, for sure.
I've had those experiences myself, but when you do the kind of healing work I've been doing, and it's like a gift that has evolved through me, my client is directly, viscerally experiencing everything that I'm taking them through. And my awareness is guiding their awareness into the experience. So it's not just we're like talking mentally.
Right.
We're like going from the level of intuition into the field. And so I would say the school of intuition.
Yeah.
Is birthing this year.
Yeah.
And it feels like my legacy work. It feels like the thing
that
I'm here to do and cultivate a school that's really grounded, teaching spiritual healers and energetic masters how to support this awakening that's happening, because a lot of people are awakening, and a lot of us are older souls that have experiences that as we unbind that, more of our gifts unlock and more of our power unlocks, and more of that ancient wisdom that we all have within us starts to experience itself through our bodies.
Yes.
And so
I love to, like, as you're saying that, the visual that came for me is like every person has unique gifts and something incredibly unique to them to offer the world. And it's almost like each person has like a little key. And there's all these different like locks throughout humanity that as people awaken more into their gifts, like their offerings can come through, and they have these unique little keys that fit into the little locks that help more people unlock more of who they're meant to become too.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think it's just it's so amazing too. And it's like we align and we attract exactly what we need in the moments that we need it, and being able to trust that and trust who we're working with and who we're drawn to in the moment and at that time period. Like there's something there, and maybe somebody has a key for me to unlock something within myself.
Totally.
And maybe that's also going to bring me my own key to help unlock something for other people too.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's been my journey. It's like feeling resonance with this teacher and then feeling resonance with this medicine, and I've studied a lot with ayahuasca, and I've studied a lot with this teacher in Luminous. And so it's like each thing has supported unlocking like every single teacher, whether it was like the trauma teachers that were teaching me about the nervous system and the foundational pieces or breath work, like it's all of these puzzle pieces that, you know, when you really trust, like even if it doesn't make sense, when you really trust the deeper, right, pulse of life, like that is part of our intuition, and like learning how to be guided by that. It doesn't always logically make sense, but then you like
oftentimes it's not going to.
totally, and then all of a sudden everything clicks, and you're like, oh, hi, here I am.
And that can take a really long time
Totally.
too, like sometimes years. And some I was just talking about this the other day, how sometimes we perceive things that have happened or choices we've made one way, and then years later we're like, oh my God, that's why this happened.
Totally.
Like no fucking way. And then a few years later it's like, wait, no, but that's why it happened. And just the concept of like, we don't always need to know or understand in the moment. We just need to trust and trust ourselves. And one thing that I think is really interesting too is one of the mentors that I've worked with for a few years. She always describes things like illness and things that we experience on the physical plane are one of like the last layers for things to land in. And so I really love the idea of playing more in the energetics and playing more in the field and the spiritual components and really getting, you know, super mastered in that space and how much more things will be aligned in the spaces that are below it as well, including the physical.
Yeah.
I
mean,
that.
like, it's like, yeah, the spiritual levels of the field, but also we have like the emotional field and the mental field. Like, we can have an emotion from our childhood that's like impacting our physical bodies, you know, and as that unbinds, like, oh, I can breathe now. Or like I can feel more like present in here. And so I totally agree with that. And I sense that, you know, as this is just like my intuition, but like as more people start awakening, I think so many people are actually like experiencing so much that's happening on the subtle levels of the field. And I remember like early on in my awakening, I was so sensitive to all this stuff I was feeling, but I didn't have like a map. I didn't understand what I was feeling. And so it was so overwhelming for me because all of a sudden it feels like I had so much access to this feeling body that felt numb before. And I'm going into environments and I'm like hearing people's thoughts and like feeling these things. And I'm like, what is going on? Right. And like, I think a lot of people's like psychic gifts are coming online and it's so overwhelming because maybe they don't have a community of people that they can talk to or like the ability to refine understanding what's happening and just being related to in that.
And trusting that it's okay and they're not going crazy.
Right. Because I literally thought, I remember when like that first happened, I was like, what is going on? Like, am I going insane? Like, yeah.
I can like hear colors. Like what?
That's an interesting one.
And the more I come into like who I am and my gifts and all of that, I've also realized that was my experience as a kid. Like what you just described, like everything felt so overwhelming all the time, which is why I don't have many memories of being a kid. Like the majority of my memories are dreams that I had as a kid. Like those are the things that I remember. But as far as like, there's not much there. And I think part of that was I was so sensitive and so intuitive, even as a kid, that everything just felt like too much.
Yeah, I would like hide in my basement and just hang out by myself because I feel similar. I could like feel, you know, my parents' stress and like everything that was going on. So I would just like isolate myself. And we all have our own strategies of what we do, whether it's like just gonna pop out of my body and like not be here or like isolate and like, you know, shut myself off from the world. And that's like something too is I would say like understanding the survival strategies that we develop, that's something that I learned a lot through Luminous. It was really helpful. And even before then, I started studying like the 5 personality patterns by Stephen Kessler, and so insightful of like, okay, there's not just like flight, fight, fawn, freeze, but there's like a leaving pattern and an enduring pattern and a merging pattern. And like, how did my nervous system in relation to my environment create like very particular patterns of survival? Because what I also recognize in that is like, if your intuition comes from your awareness, each one of those patterns like contracts or distorts your awareness in a certain way. So even knowing those survival strategies, that was like a game changer for me. And I teach that now too.
It's really beautiful to see too, and to understand how that shows up in other people and how that shows up in relationship. And I think you can just hold so much more compassion for yourself and for other people, and normalizing it and knowing that it's all coming from a lack of perceived safety, right? And so if that's something that we can learn to offer ourselves and to offer other people, that's really the medicine again and again, is the safety within all of that. And, you know, I think part of the healing journey and, you know, being committed to growth, sometimes the trap that I've seen myself and other people in is being so hyper aware of our patterns or being so hyper aware of other people's patterns and trying to figure that out or trying to figure out how to get out of it. Rather than really viewing it as medicine, rather than viewing it as like, because we're still human, right? At the end of the day, like we're still human and we're not going to be perfect. And I think that, you know, normalizing that and being okay with that and being okay with other people not showing up perfectly. And this is what I was speaking to the other day when we were hanging out, was like, that's the piece in all of this too, that I really want people to recognize, is the safety and the permission to still be human through all of it while we're having, you know, these spiritual beings that we all are having this human experience. Don't forget that we are still human. And we get to play and we get to fuck up and we get to be messy and we get to have fun. Like that's been such a big piece of my growth and healing journey, you know, with experiencing so much trauma and, you know, coaching and supporting people in their trauma. It's like, sometimes the block is we've forgotten to have fun with it too. And I like, that's healing too. That's growth too. And that's super fucking powerful too. And like, let's infuse a little bit more of that throughout the journey too. And there's enough seriousness. Like we need to take all of it seriously too. But how fun if we can have, you know, the journey of becoming more aware and alive and into our gifts. And aliveness in and of itself, when you feel it in your body, is so fun to play with.
Totally.
And, you know, moving through life in that way, rather than getting caught in that mental state like you're speaking to, of like, oh, I'm aware I'm thinking this way. Oh, I'm aware of this emotion. Oh, I'm aware that this person is having this thought and they're in this emotion. What do I need to do to fix this? They should probably do this to fix that. It's like, no, like, fuck it. Like, let's just pull out a little bit. We can be aware of all of this, but like, let's feel safe having fun too with all of it.
Totally. It's like, yeah, what I would say with that is like, I've learned most of my deepest lessons like fucking shit up.
Oh, for sure.
You know? And it's just like,
fuck around and find out.
Fuck around and find out.
That's how you find out.
That's how you find out. That's how you learn. And like for me, it's like follow the pulse of aliveness. And it's like, you can be in a chapter in this moment where you're feeling internal because you're birthing something huge. Right? And like, that's okay. And you can also have a chapter. Like a lot of my 2025 was like my party girl era, like from like like when I was like in my early 20s, was like, I was like so serious and like healing so much trauma that like I needed to like fuck around a little bit.
Totally.
And like I've been like operating my business and doing all of the things for years, and I needed to like explore and express myself and like play. because like that part of me was repressed, and
Yeah.
like I just needed a chapter to play. And like I would say, like, for people who are like really devoted and committed to like creating the life of their dreams, and like there is a level of commitment and devotion and dedication and consistency that is required for that.
Totally.
And like life was literally like, you need to play. And like I got to fall in love and like have like the funnest summer. And then like as fall started to come around, you know, like it was like, okay, we're gonna like shift that energy and come back and like
But it
integrate.
feels good for you, right? Because
Yeah,
you're following what's alive.
totally.
And I think that's where oftentimes we can get stuck, is if we're in a season of play, or if we're in a season of like putting our heads down, plugging away.
Yeah.
It's that questioning
Mm-hmm.
of, because it should feel good to some degree. Not that like you're gonna wake up every day and like be super turned on and want to do the things that you're committed to. There's gonna be days where like you're committed, so you're gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
But like following what's alive and following what's true for you and being connected to that awareness is still going to bring you joy. And it's still, because it's still choosing you.
Totally. It's funny. I'm like getting back into like my Tony Robbins era, which like I haven't been in that era in
That's
a
so funny, because
while.
I just watched a Tony Robbins video yesterday.
With
Alex Hormozy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
amazing
so good.
conversation. But like both of those people are very, I mean, they've created a lot of success, and they're very like, you create your state. So I think like what I'm even remembering is there's a balance that if you want to be super successful in life, sometimes your intuition's going to be like, oh, it's sunny outside and I just want to lay in the sun and like do the thing. And it's like, okay, how can I honor that I want to be outside, but also still make sure that I'm getting the things done that I want to get done? And it's a blend between following the aliveness and the desire and structure.
Yeah.
Right. And like having
How
those
can I have
clear goals.
both?
Yeah. Yeah. Blending the two is the magic. And it's something that I'm learning. My partner's like very goal oriented. And like, he's like, what's your vision? 10 years, 5 years. And I'm like, I need this. Right. Cause I'm like,
sure. Thank you. Let's talk.
yeah. Cause I'm like such an intuitive, like that's just,
Yeah.
I'm very feminine. I'm very intuitive. I follow the flow. And so like having some structure has really helped me guide my energy and like build what life wants to create through me, you know?
And you can structure fun, and you can structure play, and you can
Totally.
structure time in the sun.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to choose. You can do all of those things still.
Totally.
I love that too. And that's like, it's so easy to get pulled out and caught in the loop of thinking that we have to do things a certain way. But then it's like, oh, I actually still have choice. I'm actually still the one creating my life. And
Totally.
even though I want to create this, I'm going to do it in a way that feels good for me.
Yeah. And something that's coming up for me is like, when you get really clear on your values and what you want to create a year from now, like even just starting there, year and 5 years from now, like what's the vision? And then what do I want to create? Your intuition will actually guide you to making the choice that is in highest integrity with the vision that you created. And so there's a level of like clarity that's necessary for you to like own in order for your intuition to guide you there. If you don't have a sense of clarity, I find that like, yeah, you can be guided, but there's a lot of power in precision.
Yes.
You know, when you can't create the containment for your own energy of like, this is where we're going, guide me there.
For sure.
Right.
And that's the beauty of spaciousness, right? And being the feminine and having the intuition is there's possibility for absolutely anything. But until you're really clear on who you are, who you want to become, your values, and what it is that you're creating that's aligned with all of that. And if you can't see the vision, it's going to be really hard for your intuition to continually place that on the path if your vision is going to change based on the spaciousness.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of like the fundamentals of quantum physics too. You know, like if you don't have a clear vision of what you're creating, like
Creator can't bring it through to you.
Creator can't bring it through, and you're likely just going to create what's in your subconscious, what you already know, right? So like you're going to all of a sudden end up with your childhood life and be like, how did I get here? And so
it's very familiar though.
Yeah, it feels like I get that, but being a conscious creator is like tuning in and like, what feels true for me to create? And sometimes we go through that whole creative process just to realize this isn't the thing, but who I became in the process of creating the thing was so necessary for me.
And that's what I was creating.
Exactly. Was actually my own becoming.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and what do I get to create from here now?
Right.
Versus like being so committed and so like rigid with the idea of what it was I needed to create. Who did I become through the process, which is always so much greater than the actual thing.
Totally. Or like feeling like you're a failure just because you created the thing and you're like, but this isn't the thing.
So many people with that piece, so many people have that sense of feeling like they're failing or feeling like they're giving up.
Yeah.
And I think this is where a lot of people get stuck too with their growth and their healing, is who they become on the journey of creating the thing is different than the person that they started. Yeah. And so letting go feels so hard because they're not really letting go of the vision. They're also letting go of who they once were.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck and don't want to move forward because they're so connected. Attached is the word. They're so attached to what it was that they created, and then they don't allow themselves to keep changing and the vision to change.
Yeah, I was one
myself
of those people.
Included.
I was one of those
myself included.
Yeah, I mean, like I spent 5 years building the certification, and this last year, like I could feel it. Like it's time to like let it go because something new wants to evolve. But when you've poured so much into something, whether it's a relationship, like people stay in relationships because they've been in it for so long, or whether it's a job that you've poured decades into sometimes even, like.
Well, it's an identity thing, right? Totally. It's like, who am I without these things? Because that's also, that is how we create so much of our identity, is how we relate to our experience with other people and what's reflected back. It's like, this is who I am. And even though like my intuition and my awareness is telling me that it's time to let go and move forward so I can become, like, that's so fucking scary. That's like the scariest thing.
Yeah, I think it's like the space in between that really, that's like the most courageous thing. If you can actually find peace in that place of like letting go of this old life, this old version, and like I find for myself, it's like I want to like immediately grip onto like what's the next thing so that I feel safe. But if I can actually just rest in the like, I have no fucking idea, but I know that this has to go. And it's like, then I actually have space for like the true next thing to come in. But it's that in between phase that a lot of people just start like mentally ruminating and like trying to figure out the next step to stay safe. And for anyone that feels that, because I feel that in the field a lot, like
if it's not this, I need to figure out what it's going to be.
Yeah, but like let it come to you. Like you'll know when it's the next thing. Like you will feel it and you will feel inspired by it. And oftentimes for me, it doesn't come from my mental field. I'm not going to figure it out. It's actually when I rest in like silence, which like a lot of people are uncomfortable with, but it's like actually in the silence and the stillness and the like nothingness does inspiration hit. So
there's space for stuff to come through and to land. Yeah. And I've done that so many times where it's like, all right, I'm done with this. I know that I'm moving on. I'm just going to real quickly claim the next thing so that I have this false sense of safety of where I'm going.
Totally.
And when we do that too, we get so contracted and our energy is so rigid because if it's not this, it must be this. And if it's not this, I don't know. And that's so fucking uncomfortable to not know because I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm creating. I don't know what life has to offer, but we forget that it gets to be so magical and it gets to be like so big and expansive and it gets to be so much more of us. And sometimes we don't know who that is yet. And it's okay that it's scary and
Yeah.
it's okay that it's uncomfortable. And
if it's scary, that's probably just like unprocessed fear that you have, you know, because it's like now I find that I can rest in that space with a lot more trust, right? It's like I've cultivated a trust with life. Like I've died enough times where I'm like, okay, I understand. Like we as beings, especially if you're on the path of like personal development and growth and like evolving so that you can create the life of your dreams, you are going to die. Like versions of you are going to die. There's a cycle to that. Like we are cyclical, just like nature is cyclical. And like when you actually really start to like get into the cycles of your own death processes, you know, like you get comfortable with it. You're like, okay, I know that this is what happens when this part of me needs to be let go, and I trust that a new thing is going to emerge because I've gone through it enough times. And I remember early in the process, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I feel overwhelmed. Like I'm not this version of myself.
This can't
who
be
am I
right.
becoming? Yeah. But now I'm like, okay, like, and so it's just
let's fucking see.
We're just gonna we're gonna fuck around and find out. Like I'm just gonna
And the word that keeps coming to me too is peace.
Yes.
Like the level when you can come into a level of peace within that part of your journey, it's not only trust and it's not only like knowing that it's all gonna work out, you're still on the right path, but it's like I can fucking do anything. If I can find peace in these places, I am so fucking capable. And I'm going to keep doing that.
Yeah, I love that you're bringing that up. The book Letting Go is probably like one of my favorite books of all time. It's by David R. Hawkins, and there's a whole chapter on peace.
Oh, I listened to that one.
It literally changed my entire life.
It's yellow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I highly recommend it for anyone that feels called. But he talks about peace, and like when you live at the state of peace, the hallmark of it is desirelessness. You have no desire because every desire manifests instantaneously, like without you even really thinking about it. It just, you're so open and in sync with the universe that everything that you need just manifests effortlessly. And like, that's magic. That's the spiritual magic that we all have access to. And I think a lot of people think that they're in peace, but like they're in a dysregulated calm state, you know what I mean? Where they're like, I'm fine, you know, I'm in peace, right? But true peace, there's like a magical quality to it. It's the state of consciousness right under enlightenment. And so when we create from peace and when we can cultivate that within ourselves, all of our needs are fulfilled, and it's such an epic place to be in and cultivate. And it's been like such a deep, whenever I feel really disconnected from myself, I will go read that particular chapter and it like brings me back home.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And something you spoke to that I want to touch on briefly is around desire, right? And something I think is really powerful is like when you're on the journey of coming more into your body, and even like I've worked with a lot of women like in the sexuality space, and a lot of that is coming back to desire and mastering your desires. And there's so much power in that because most of us have had experiences that disconnect us from that, or it's not safe to have desires. And it's really important. But I also believe that creating from desire alone, it's possible and we can all do it. It's not as magical and it doesn't make as positive of an impact on who you're becoming and also on the world. And so I also believe like mastering your desires is so important because I think it's a huge piece of coming back into your body and understanding your yes and your no, what it is that you want to create maybe. But then from that place as well, how do you bring in the universal energy? How do you connect to the field? How do you connect to that sense of peace? Because when you have peace, you're not necessarily needing all those things that maybe your ego placed on you that you think that you want. And how powerful creating can be from from that place and choosing to create from that place, and how that can make the biggest impact. And that's what's really powerful as well.
Yeah, desire is so interesting because a lot of the frame in which I view my experience of reality has been through the map of Hawkins' work. And so desire in his work is actually a negative state of consciousness. And it's often like the thing that we want, but there's a lack thereof. Right? So he actually, like, people who are stuck in desire are constantly feeling the lack of the thing that they want. They're actually constantly in lack. So they're desiring more and
Always
more
hungry.
and always hungry. And, desire in the context of what you're speaking, it's like, yeah, we have these like, I kind of call it like callings or knowings versus desire. Cause it's like, yeah, your desire could come from, a conditioning of like, yeah, if like, for example, my desire out of college was to like work on Wall Street and make a lot of money and party and get fucked up. And that was all because of like the TV shows I watched and like what I thought was going to make me happy. And that was like the desire. So it's like, where is that desire coming from? And is it truth? Right? Is it coming from like almost like conditioned primal, like lower conscious, like I feel like I need this in order to find peace or happiness?
Yeah.
Or is it actually the truth of what I'm here to create?
Yeah.
And experience.
I love that.
Yeah.
So being aware of the energy that you're creating from, and also being aware of the energy that will create, I think is really powerful. So it's like the full spectrum of where is this desire, or where is this knowing of creating a certain thing for myself or my life? Like, where is that coming from actually? And what would having this, or what would embodying this, or becoming this, or what would this tangible, whatever it is, showing up in the world, what will that create? Because what am I actually after?
And it's like something that I also recognize is the more that you start to feel the essence of you, there's like a frequency that is uniquely you, right? Like it's like your soul, right? And it's like you can feel when you really start to connect with yourself in that frequency that is uniquely you, you can kind of like bring a desire or something that you want to experience or create, and like, does it actually resonate with my frequency, with the essence of me? Or am I thinking that I should experience or have this and because of that? So that's kind of like one of the practices that I do whenever, because like I'm the kind of person that has like so many downloads and ideas. I'm like, I should do this and create this, like, and so I'm like, okay, that's a great idea, but is that my idea? Like, have you ever read the book Big Magic?
Yes.
Yeah. And she talks about how like there's all these ideas that we get, but is it yours? Is it actually meant to be yours? Or are you just accessing the field of like, someone needs to create this, but it's not meant to be me?
And I've had that so many times where I've had a download of something that I'm going to create, and either I decide not to, I don't execute on it, or it's just not mine.
Yeah.
And then I see it show up in the world. Someone else has created it. And I'm like, that's great.
Yeah. Like that's perfect for you.
Yeah,
like
that's perfect for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like so glad. There's been a few where it's like, maybe I should have, maybe. But for the most part, I mean, it's a no because I didn't,
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting too, because not everything that comes through is us.
Totally. Especially if you're really psychic and sensitive to energy and information in the field, like you're picking up on everything that's happening, right? And if there's not like a lot of energetic hygiene, like, yeah, you're picking up so much that's happening in the field. And I think that's there's so many ideas, like so many people want to be entrepreneurs and create, and it's amazing and it's brilliant. And, the psychic field can be overwhelming if you're not aware of what you're hearing. And just because you hear something, is it meant for you? you know?
Yeah. And having that discernment is so, so important.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. I think we're
Mm-hmm.
going to wrap up here,
Yeah.
but I feel like we could talk about so many of these things forever.
All day.
Yeah, all day long. You shared a bit around like what you're currently creating. Do you have any plans as far as when that will be out or anything like that? I would just love for people to know like how to contact you,
Yeah.
experience you, anything you're currently creating that's available for people, anything like that.
Yeah, so the next cohort for my certification, it's going to shift from the energetic revolution into the school of intuition, but it is for advanced energy trackers, healers, masters, even there's going to be some really incredible entrepreneurs that are in there that are just wanting to develop these skills just to apply to the businesses that they're creating and their networking. So it's not just for healers. And so the School of Intuition will be having its next cohort in April.
Yay.
So if that's something that you're interested in, you can message me on Instagram at I am Tanin Matin.
Yay.
And hopefully we can put that in the show notes.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah. And even if you have questions and you just want to connect, like DM me. I'm here. I'm a normal human. Love to connect.
Very normal. Awesome. Awesome.
I'm like normal, but not so normal, but I'm meaning like I would love to talk to you and connect.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This was epic.
This was so fun.
Yeah, so fun.